Welcome to Betrayal Trauma Recovery, BTR.org. I'm Anne. I'm sure you remember what it was like when you were searching for help, maybe for your husband, hoping to find the right program or therapist. That's why I started podcasting. I supported my husband through 7 years of pornography addiction recovery, and not one therapist during that time told me I was experiencing emotional and psychological abuse and sexual coercion. I didn't want any other woman on the planet to be in the dark. If you're like the majority of my listeners, you're experiencing the type of abuse that's invisible and difficult to wrap your head around. Your husband is using porn or having affairs or lying to you, and you're getting the same bad advice about how to improve communication or your relationship. If you need support from women who totally understand, check out our daily group session schedule at btr.org/group. We'd love to see you in a session today. One simple, anonymous way to help spread the word is to click, follow, or subscribe to the Betrayal Trauma Recovery podcast on your favorite podcasting app. While you're there, every 5-star rating helps make this podcast more visible and will help save other women from getting the wrong kind of help, like a couple program that will make this type of abuse worse. For those of you who follow or subscribe to this podcast, thank you so much. Your support means so much to me. Women frequently write to me about how they feel, what they're going through, what they think of betrayal trauma recovery, and how grateful they are for my podcast and the services at btr.org. So today I'm going to share some of these messages with you. I'll be reading them, and then I also received some audio recordings from women, so I'll be playing those for you. If you'd like to come on the podcast and talk to me, I would love to talk to you. Please come share your experience with me. If you want to do that, email podcast@btr.org. Or if you're shy and you want to share, but you don't want to talk to me, which I don't blame you if you don't want to talk to me, you can use voice recordings on your phone and email that to podcast@btr.org. And then I can share it on the podcast anonymously. It means so much to me to hear from you. I am so honored to listen to your story and share that space with you. It warms my spirits to hear from you, and it keeps me going. So thank you. Let's start with an audio recording that I received.
So when I finally found BTR, my husband and I had spent over 10 years and $10,000 in and out of couples counseling. Even though my husband had been unfaithful and had a problem with pornography and masturbation, they looked at our issues as a, quote, couple problem. The multiple therapists we saw had years of experience, but they knew nothing whatsoever about betrayal trauma, sexual integrity issues or addiction, or the emotional abuse involved. In fact, my husband was able to successfully gaslight one therapist to the point where he told me that if I would become a, quote, safe person, my husband would quit lying to me. I bet you can guess the result. Yep, my husband lied to me again and again and again. It was never about me. Thankfully, everything turned almost on a dime the day I read an article on gaslighting from BTR. This was one of the biggest aha moments of my entire life. It was almost as if I could hear the angels singing in the background as 26 painful years of fog began to lift. I immediately set up a coaching appointment with one of the BTR coaches, and for the first time ever found someone who got it immediately. I didn't have to convince her or educate her or prove a thing. She knew exactly what I was going through because she had been there too. After years and years and thousands of dollars spent on traditional therapy, I finally found someone who understood exactly what I was going through, named it, educated me, and provided the support and contagious courage needed to become empowered to stop the abuse.
An intimate group of amazing women represented different stages of discovery and grief cycles. We came from various backgrounds and bonded together to find solutions to the challenges women faced after the initial shock of disclosure and abuse, when we were unable to make sense of reality, when I recognized that the feelings attached to the experience of trauma are universal in nature, but there are some unique, heightened, and very personal pain points around this particular addiction. I was able to sort out truth from fiction and find coping tools.
I was desperate for help and searched the internet for answers. I came across info on gaslighting. So this is what I'd been experiencing in my marriage for 26 years, and there's a name for it? It was literally a mind-blowing revelation for me that led me to the BTR website, where I went on a podcast binge and listened to everything I could get my hands on. The fog of gaslighting began to lift, and with the help of one of the coaches, I gained the courage to set some significant and appropriate boundaries. Honestly, I thought I had a pretty good handle on the subject and didn't expect to learn much more. Was I ever wrong? What I thought I knew about gaslighting was only a drop in the bucket. Her sessions were very informative and practical with examples in a safe situation with feedback and encouragement. If you've been betrayed, chances are gaslighting is or has been a significant part of your story as well.
This isn't a cookie-cutter group with an unmovable agenda. There isn't one way to approach the challenge of boundaries. Sex addiction is real. Treat yourself to this healing experience. Transcend the past, move past the crazy, and stand in your own truth in sisterhood.
The BTR community is amazing. The support groups, everyone gets it. There is no judgment. There's no feelings of being victimized like with some therapists. I truly feel that everyone who participates validates our experience. They offer very helpful feedback and suggestions. Everyone is a wealth of information. I get great resources, all sorts of different pieces that I would not have necessarily found on my own. And I appreciate that people will share what has worked and also what hasn't worked for them. I really appreciate the ease of use. Many different times during the day that you can connect with the coaches and with other group members. The response is really quick if you want to make an appointment. You don't have to wait and you don't have to travel. You can do it from your computer. Especially for people with kids, the ability to quickly get an appointment and not have to find a babysitter. You can, toss a movie in for an hour and get your needs met, get that validation and that help that we're all so searching for. So I strongly suggest people try it. The fee is nominal. It's much less than you're ever going to find anywhere else. You can use as many groups as you want during the month. And I think it's probably the best investment you can make in your recovery. I'm a huge fan, and I love the style. I love the program. I love the model.
BTR has been such a validating and positive experience. The process has given me the courage to face some of my demons regarding triggers and issues with physical intimacy that I had been hiding from. It has also given me clarity about my next steps and ideas to improve my relationship. I have a clearer idea of how I want to integrate this whole nightmare into my life in a really positive way.
BTR has been life-changing for me. It challenged me out of my comfort zone and encouraged me to make the hard choices for the betterment of my family, and out of love for myself, I have been deeply impacted by hearing of the other ladies' struggles and victories, as well as having been able to learn from their stories and journeys.
When I was first introduced to BTR, my world had turned upside down and I was lost in overpowering emotions. The coaches guided me to discover peace and advocate for myself. Thank you for our individual sessions and for the group. I have found a place of healing and strength.
I was very blessed to find BTR.org. The coaches are just wonderful. I was really desperate when I found BTR because therapists, like 3 of them in a row, didn't work out. The group meetings are just fulfilling in themselves, but the individual coach meetings are also wonderful. Everybody is so kind and helpful and gives me a lot of hope about what I've been going through. Thank you.
Here's one from a woman in Colorado. He was charming, handsome, and a doctor from 3 generations of physicians. I had a nice job with 2 great sons. My life was full. I didn't see it coming. Things started out great, slowly transforming into emotional game-playing, crazy-making, and gaslighting. I was blind to his pornography addiction and abuse until he had a heart attack and couldn't hide it anymore. After strategic planning to get to safety, without family or a support system, the emotional turmoil and trauma came tumbling out. I've spent hours of therapy and reading to research my own issues of letting go. This has been my life for the past 6 years. I finally found BTR, and it has been my lifeline. I write this with much gratitude and appreciation.
I just happened to find the BTR podcast in the midst of finding out my spouse had been lying and cheating again. Actually, number 6 that I know of, the deepest, darkest moment of my life. Words can't express how listening to the podcast truly saved my life and made me feel like there are others out there. I wasn't alone. The words of encouragement, education, support, and knowing that the situation is for real and I wasn't crazy was so comforting. After searching the BTR site, I noticed services were offered that could help even further. I decided now was the time and signed up. Words truly can't express how this experience helped in my life. I also joined Betrayal Trauma Recovery group. Each story and experience shared from the others touched my life in so many ways. The encouragement, education, and knowledge received from the coaches and other women will forever be a part of my life. I wish I would have found BTR sooner, but I know it was simply in God's timing to bring this organization into my life. I look forward to continuing individual sessions. Thank you, BTR and Anne, for everything.
BTR helped me to calm down and refocus away from my problems and onto finding a genuine solution so that I can move forward. Here's another one. BTR coaches are in tune with the needs of victims, learning about them and intuitively recognizing details and proactively offering creative and innovative solutions. Here's another one. BTR group sessions provide support, validation, empowerment, education, organization, consistency, safety, confidentiality, respect, kindness, acceptance, and love. I don't use those words lightly. BTR group sessions and all of BTR has been a lifeline for me that is indescribable. Thank you so very much. I like the fact that I can get help from home as I am unable to travel outside the home. The coaches provide helpful feedback, insightful feedback. They are knowledgeable, kind, patient, and have helped me to stay grounded in reality. The group members provide much needed community and validation. BTR has been a godsend. That I can share what I'm going through with other women that understand, it's amazing. Here's another one. Hello, Anne. I just felt I needed to send you a letter of encouragement and gratitude. I heard about BTR through one of my dear friends that I met doing an intensive with her sex-addicted husband. After the 5-day intensive, I felt confused and alone, especially when I came home to our small town with no support. I followed the 12-step program and joined a program with our church. It was small, and the leaders ended up having to shut it down. I wanted so badly to recover, but I had no support group until I found you and BTR. My marriage had been so painful and so crazy, I had no idea what gaslighting was, or that I was in a full-on abusive relationship. My boundaries and self-worth were low, even though I presented myself as strong and confident. I lost my voice. Since finding this group and the amazing coaches, I have grown and discovered my inner strength and true voice. Thank you for what you are doing. Thank you for the love and time you pour into this ministry. You are a beautiful, glorious woman, and I hope to meet you in person someday. Here's another one. I stumbled across BTR and fortunately attended a group session and was privileged to have entered one of the safest spaces ever held for me since my world was turned upside down. The time I have shared with BTR since has been filled with compassionate truths and an endless amount of space and safety. The times I have felt the most alone and afraid, you assure me that I am no longer walking through this journey alone. You provide personalized recommendations that fit me so perfectly and tailor information to the individual client. Thank you. You have changed my life. And the last one? I was told about my husband's sexual addiction in 2015. We sought professional help right away, and he seemed to be in recovery. But it wasn't until the summer of 2018 when I discovered BTR that I finally heard someone describe what I was living through as gaslighting, and that there was something I could do about it. I'm not typically a person to call in, but after listening to the BTR podcast, I recognized that I had more to learn. I scheduled an appointment with a coach. I realized that my husband had not been sober and that I had been emotionally abused. Then, during a critical period, just before my husband moved to actively cast me off and discard our marriage, during the period when he was rapidly ramping up abusive behaviors, the BTR coaches were there with me with incredible empathy and profound insight. In a few hours, they validated my pain and taught me more about gaslighting than most people would know in a lifetime. They helped equip me to manage a situation that was about to rapidly unfold. Unlike beginning with a new therapist, I didn't have to spend hours giving background because these women already understood what was going on in my heart and in my home. Gaslighting, Darvo, and emotional abuse were huge topics that had not been addressed in traditional counseling. Also, the podcast covered topics that I found extremely helpful. I listened, pausing, jotting notes, then printing the transcripts of some episodes. This material deeply resonated with me, and I used parts of it as a script to identify what I needed for safety. Thank you for what you do. You are making a difference. I am so grateful for the women who are brave enough to share their insight and to send in testimonials to us. Thank you for being a part of our community. I am always looking for victims' stories. If you would like to come on the podcast and share your story, please email me at podcast@btr.org. The more we can share and get stories like this out into the light, the more it helps all victims everywhere. If this podcast is helpful to you, please help us reach other women by following or subscribing and giving us a 5-star rating. Thank you for helping other women find us. If you've already purchased a copy of my book, Trauma Mama, Husband Drama, please circle back and give it a 5-star rating. A lot of women are searching for books about betrayal trauma on Amazon, and rating Trauma Mama will help them find this podcast, which is free to everyone. Your donations keep this podcast going. Go to our website, btr.org, scroll to the bottom, click on Support the BTR Podcast. And until next week, stay safe out there.